think I know the bride's name, do I? Oh, yes. Yes, there it is. Let me underline that. She's very nervous and will kill me for this, it says here. Hello, do you have Vicky Wall there, please?
Yes, certainly.
Could you get the phone?
It's on that already?
No, they refused to the last time.
Did they? Why?
We spoke to the Deputy FOC and he refused to write a letter to Brian, saying there was nothing we could do about it. When we were saying, we don't want you to sue him or anything, we just want you to embarrass him.
This morning he lifted the story about the Olympic Games, the Labour group's meeting on Monday. You know this thing about they won't do it unless the government funds it, and they're meeting on Monday, and he lifted that from the Birmingham Post. I just want, is anything Monica Foote can do about that?
It's totally unethical, isn't it?
It is, but news is, there's no copyright on news, is there? From the beginning, what happened was the management decided that because they claimed they were losing money, what they would do was look for ways of saving it. Now, 4 people had put in their resignations, or were going to, in our newsroom, and the company said, oh yes, we'll get them through natural wastage, because natural wastage seems a good idea. But it hits our newsroom disproportionately hard. It amounts to a third of the staff. Well, to compensate for that, they decided to take, for the first time since BRMB's been on air, 10 years, independent radio news, live from London, for half the number of bulletins, so 12 of the 24. Then we put the matter into dispute, which is a procedure between our union and their organising body, the Association of Independent Radio Contractors. And at the second meeting of this disputes procedure, they suddenly decided that they'd had enough talking. They were going to go and do it anyway.
BRMB, medium wave at 1152 kilohertz and FM in stereo at 94.8.
This dispute is over the contravention of the national agreement. It's over the news service being axed, being butchered by the management, and it's also over the non-replacement of 4 journalists. I think this dispute affects independent local radio as a whole, because let's face it, it's called independent local radio because of the local news service. It's only the stuff that comes in between the records that makes a station local. And if you're going to axe the news service, then the station no longer becomes local, and it becomes like any other national radio station in the country.
This dispute has very far-reaching national implications. The unions see it that way, so does the management. Whoever loses here is going to lose an awful lot more than merely the battle of the RMB. Because we're talking about standards, we're talking about breadth of coverage, we're talking about the local in local radio. Without that, to quote a local comedian here, Don McLean, it'll be just a gramophone.
That's Madonna Louise Ciccione at head of the New York Mafia.
We've got an agreement, a national agreement with the management, which they've decided to break. Can we start that again? This is totally different from interviewing someone else.
It's much easier when you ask the question.
Yeah. Right. Now, what is the most important aspect? The national agreement, obviously.
But what's very encouraging is that you not only get people from your union who are not involved in the dispute coming along in the cold to stand with you, but you get people from other broadcast unions coming along as well. And the support makes you feel as if you belong to not just the NUJ, but the trade union movement as a whole.
I'm on strike myself with the Birmingham Dispatch, and I thought, well, I'll come down and lend a bit of support and give a donation of £100 because I think it's a very good cause. We need a local radio station, not just a business to pop music, basically. That's it.
Swaying room as the music starts, strangers making the most of the dark. Back to that
We know that when there's a fire or a plane crash or a murder, invariably the stories happen overnight. Things happen overnight. We can get out there, do the interviews and come back. The most important bulletins of the day are the 7 and the 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, you can't go home at 7 o'clock at night and come in and expect to pick up the pieces, because all sorts of things could have happened overnight. And by the time you find out about them, by the time you find out about the fire or the murder or the plane crash, the eyewitnesses have gone, the people that dealt with it, the firemen are in bed asleep. The MPs who were speaking in the House of Commons overnight, they're in bed asleep. So it is, we will become, we believe, a second division station without 24-hour local news. We realise that our strength doesn't just lie with our chapel, as strong and as angry as we may be, but it also lies with the postmen who are refused to cross the picket line, so the mail's not being delivered. The dustbin men who refuse to cross the picket line and the bins aren't being emptied. The telecom man who won't go in to fix the phones. And also our other colleagues in radio and our other colleagues in the NUJ. It's very heartening when you get a letter from Oxford, from Plymouth, from Wales saying good luck. And you think, first of all, well, how on earth did they hear about it? And secondly, well, we are doing something right here. If there hadn't been a union, we wouldn't all be standing on the picket line, because we couldn't count on the support of the rest of the trade union movement. You see the national officers phoning up, backing you up. So without a union, we wouldn't be here. And our company could do what it likes, as companies could do what they like all over the network and all over the country. Is that okay? Was that all right?
Excellent.
Thank you.